At the top of the third, we have leading ladies from around the state. Our panel includes Starkville Mayor Lynn Spruill, South Haven Chamber of Commerce Executive Director Carmen Kyle, City of Greenville First Lady Dr. Tamika Simmons, City of Hattiesburg First Lady Kate Barker, City of Jackson First Lady Dr. Ebony Lamumba. This panel will be moderated by MEC's Chief Operating Officer, Kathy Northington.
Thank you, thank you. Good morning and welcome to MEC's Hobnob 2020 Banter at the Ballpark. You guys, it's a little chilly out here. The wind is blowing, so excuse me if there's a bad hair day. We are having a great time here, but there is heat coming from the stage today. I don't know if you feel it, but I feel it, and I think you can look closely and you'll feel it from the stage. You heard the announcer announce these amazing women, and I'm not going to talk much about them because I know you want to hear from them, and we're just going to go around this stage here. I'll say we start at first base with the First Lady of the City of Hattiesburg, and then we're going to go around, and we're going to let them tell you a little bit about themselves. With Hobnob 2020, we wanted to do something different. We wanted to bring something innovative to the ballpark. We wanted to bring diversity to the ballpark. And I said, okay, how can we do this? And I was like, let's have a Beyonce-style stage. When I say Beyonce, I say an all-women's band. So we have an all-women's stage today at Banter at the Ballpark. I think First Lady of Hattiesburg, Kate, you're at first base. Tell us about yourself.
Thank you for having me today. Well, I'm Kate Barker. I actually grew up in a very small town in Mississippi called Quitman, close to Meridian, because you've probably never heard of Quitman. Then I went to college at Jones Junior College, then Mississippi College, and ended up in Hattiesburg for graduate school. And then I met my amazing husband, and I have to say that. But my amazing husband worked as a medical social worker for 7 years before I completely changed course and went to culinary school, and then worked as a personal chef until my children came along. And so now I'm at home with my babies, and I'm raising them during COVID. So you can imagine how that's going.
Well, thank you, thank you. And you're thinking culinary, and I'm thinking something warm and something just feel good to your soul, to comfort food. If you are at home in Hattiesburg and you wanted to cook a perfect meal for today, what would you cook for the group here?
Oh, my. Well, I have to say, my mom and dad grew up in New Orleans, and so my comfort food is my mom's red beans and rice with sausage, and that is what I would eat right now, a warm bowl of her red beans and rice with sausage.
Well, that's
it's not fancy, but it's delicious.
Oh, but that's okay. So, hey, do you travel around the state? If they say, hey, I want a private shelf, can you come to Jackson, Mississippi? We'll think about it.
What's that?
Can you come to Jackson if they wanted you to travel to bring your food to us?
What would I make?
Would you bring it to us? Are you a traveling chef?
Well, maybe, possibly, for the right offer, I could do that. Yeah.
Well, thank you, thank you. Well, we're gonna go to Mayor. We're gonna get you to slide into first base, and I don't know, have you ever landed a plane on a baseball field before?
That's an easy no, I have not. On an aircraft carrier, but not on a baseball field.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, I am a Starkville native, so I am a true Mississippian. I graduated from Mississippi State University, and then I went off on an adventure to fly for the Navy. And I stayed gone for a while, about 30 years before I came back to Starkville. And while I was gone, I was in the Navy. I flew for Atlantic Richfield Corporation, and then I flew for Delta for about 20 years. And so I've had a fairly long flying career. And now I'm back in Starkville. I have a residential business that I run, property management. And I am also the elected mayor of the city of Starkville.
Well, I don't know when the last time you went to Starkville. I have a son. I have a sophomore at Mississippi State now. And I go to the mill, and Starkville is amazing. So you're the brains behind everything that's going on in Starkville, Mississippi?
Gosh, I wish I could say yes to that. I would love to be able to say, yes, I am, but no, I'm not. You know, there are so many wonderful people in the community who step up daily to make Starkville what it is, and there's lots of creative ideas. We're doing new things. I'm really, really proud of Starkville. We have a very progressive approach. We're doing some things I don't think any communities, maybe even in the United States, have done, such as replacing our entire infrastructure of a subdivision because it's aging, and going through the entire community doing that. We are annexing. We have a build grant for 182, if you remember 182. We just have a lot of things going on. I'm really excited about what all Starkville is doing. I think we're on the cutting edge of a lot of programs that you're not seeing necessarily anywhere else in the state.
Well, thank you. And a big part of the reason why we wanted to do this panel, because MEC is a statewide organization, and we a lot of times focus on the state as a whole, but what we realize is in the local communities are the ones that's holding the state up. The local communities and the business leaders, they're up close and personal with their citizens, and they get a chance to talk to them. Sometimes you don't get a chance to do that on the statewide level. And we felt like, yes, we're a statewide organization, but the communities and the local communities matter. And yes, those helpmates in these local communities, these women that are doing out amazing things, is important for us. It's pretty interesting. Before we go to the other mayors, each first lady or each leading lady that I called, they were saying, no, you don't need me. And they named me 5 or 10 other leading ladies in their community that they felt like was more deserving of this honor. And so with that, that's just amazing. That says a lot about these women that's on the stage, because they could say, oh, sure, me, why not? But they named woman after woman after woman. And I think that's, takes a round of applause. So Miss Tamika, I know Tamika personally, Dr. Simmons, I'm sorry. And she's a Leadership Mississippi alum, so, not that I'm biased, but I am. And so I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Simmons and tell us what's going on in the Mississippi Delta.
Yes, sure. So I am Tamika Simmons, and I am a native of Jackson, Mississippi, alum of Jackson State University. And I have the privilege and the honor of serving as First Lady of the Queen City of the Mississippi Delta, and that is Greenville, Mississippi. And it is just a place that when you come, you never forget it. The people of the Mississippi Delta are wonderful. They are good home folks. The hospitality is amazing. And it's just been wonderful being in the Delta and seeing just how resilient folks are and how passionate people are about the area. We love our Hot Tamale Festival. We love our Blues Festival. And so if any of you come on down or come on up, depending on where you are, to the Mississippi Delta, be sure to knock on our door and we'll make sure you get a nice warm hot tamale and you get a taste of the blues.
Well, thank you. And the Delta is one of my favorite places. I sometimes just turn on the music and I'll just drive and I'll see the flatland and I'll stop. And I must admit they have some of the best food in the state of Mississippi. And I've done the Tamale Festival, I've done the Blues Festival, and every chance I get, I head to the Mississippi Delta. But we're going to hear more about what they think is amazing about their city and their community. But Carmen Cow, we have a connection. She's a Leadership Mississippi alum, and she's a chamber lady. And these chamber ladies, we stick together. And so Carmen drove down from South Haven, Mississippi, north end of the state. And when you think about South Haven, they're doing so much. They have the largest school district in the state, and they are just growing and growing. I think Amazon and just one thing after the other in South Haven, Mississippi. So I could not have a leading lady without bringing a chamber exec here and a city like South Haven, Mississippi that continues to grow. Carmen, tell us about yourself and tell us what you're doing in South Haven, Mississippi.
Hey, thank you so much for inviting me. It's an honor to be here. I am Carmen Kyle, the Executive Director of South Haven Chamber of Commerce, and we are one of the largest business organizations in North Mississippi, and being all the way north, it's sometimes we're a little detached from Jackson, but anytime I'm invited, I come. So thank you again. You know, I'm not from Mississippi. My mother says that I got here as fast as I could. So I've been in Mississippi 27 years, and it's home. My two boys raised here, born here. They are, this is their home. So, and mine. I love it here, and I wouldn't be anywhere else. And I want to tack on to that with about our community, and I think we can all say this about our communities, is with South Haven, we are a sports destination with Snowden Grove Park and all of that, but we can all say that the people is what makes our communities what they are, and South Haven is, and DeSoto County is truly a welcoming place. So shop and sports and all of that, come and see us, and we will be there with welcome arms.
Thank you, Carmen. And we're going to get back to what South Haven is doing in that sports community. But the city of Jackson, our capital city, and I talk about it all the time with Leadership Mississippi, you have cities growing in the state of Mississippi, but these cities could not survive if it wasn't for our capital city, the city of Jackson. I say, you can say what you want to say. I was born in Jackson. When people say, Kathy, where are you from? And I say, I'm from Jackson, but I've lived in Madison County for 20 years, but I truly believe in order for the cities around Jackson to grow and flourish, we have to support and help build our capital city. And with us today, I could not be here at the State Chamber and we did not highlight our capital city and highlight the First Lady of the capital city, Dr. Ebony Lumumba. And Ebony Lumumba, we have a link in common. We're linked sisters, and we went through some weeks and times of bonding together. So I had a chance to hug and love on her darling little daughters, and they taught me something about physics. And hey, I'm ready when I talk to them. I make sure I do my homework. So we're gonna talk to Dr. Ebony Lumumba, the First Lady of the city of Jackson, our capital city.
Thank you, Kathy. I'm so excited to share the stage with all of these dynamic women. I think my city, we're closest to my city, so I'm going to say welcome to them and try to keep them here as long as I can. I'm Ebony Lumumba, as Kathy has shared, and I am a Jackson, Mississippi native. My husband and I met in Jackson, Mississippi when we were 5 years old, so we call ourselves kindergarten sweethearts. And we're so excited to be able to serve our city in the way that we've been privileged to do. Both of us left for a number of years for college and graduate school, but we're back here in our home city with a mission and a purpose to pour back into the city that we say raised us. So now I am a department chair and a literature professor at Jackson State University. Go Tigers. And we're very excited with our new football coach. So hopefully we'll be able to get out in this cool weather and watch some sports pretty soon. But what I do is an intersection of everything I love about the state of Mississippi. I get to work with young people, I get to talk about literature, and I get to advance the narrative of what our state truly is. So I'm grateful for that, and I'm grateful to be able to connect that to the work that I get to do alongside my husband. Thanks for having me.
Well, I could not have you. So she was talking about, changing the narrative. We hear negative stuff about Mississippi all the time, and then we talk about it is a hidden jewel. And I say, hey, let's not hide it. Let's talk about it. Let's shout it to the ceilings, and let's talk about some amazing things if that makes you Mississippi proud. And, Carmen said, hey, I'm not, I'm a Mississippian. I wasn't born here, but I am Mississippian. I can think of a few things that make me Mississippi proud, and that's being here today and just seeing, I see the magnolia and I see the wind blowing and I see the flags going, and I'm Mississippi proud right now. I wouldn't be anywhere else. So, ladies, tell us, when you think about Mississippi in your hometown, and we talk about the soundtrack of the state of Mississippi, if you had to put a soundtrack together, just a great sound of Mississippi, and you want to talk about something that makes you Mississippi proud. Tell us what makes you Mississippi proud, and it doesn't have to be in any order. If you just think right off what makes you a Mississippi proud, tell us.
So I'll jump in here. Of course, as you stated, Kathy, us Mississippians, we just love our state, and I know that we each all love and adore our community. I know for the Mississippi Delta, we have so many challenges, but there's so much resilience among the people in the Mississippi Delta. When I think about, for example, the coming from the 1927 flood, and then we had historic flooding again in 2011, and again in 2016, and again in 2019, where the river stage in the city of Greenville was high for more than 150 days, and how the community came together, and how neighbor supported neighbor. And we see that so much in the Mississippi Delta, how people take care of one another. I serve as director of the Local Government Leadership Institute at Delta State University, and what we do is provide basic municipal training for elected officials. And so being able to have the opportunity to wrap around our elected officials, they get so much taken out of them all of the time, but to be a part of an organization and to lead an organization that's supporting and lifting them up in their capacity to lift up their communities has been amazing. And so that narrative around our area where people are supportive of one another, to me, that's what's so amazing.
I feel it. I see heads shaking. I say, yeah, yeah. So is there anyone else that want to talk about, like, Mississippi proud? I see Mayor over there.
I would be delighted to say something because Mississippi is seen as 50th at the bottom of so many things. But one of the things that we are number one at is giving. We are the most charitable group of people in any state, anywhere. And anytime someone needs something, we are so willing to give of ourselves. And I think that's one of the things about Mississippi that is so special, and that we forget sometimes how helpful we are to one another and how much we appreciate one another. And that shows up in the giving statistics. You know, I want us to be number one in some statistics, and that's about the best one we could possibly choose to be generous with, and we are.
I agree.
So I have to say this as the resident, one of the resident professors, but our culture in Mississippi is what makes me the most proud. Our literary history and culture. When people think about Mississippi, they do often think about our negative statistics, but they have read a Mississippi writer. They've been impacted by a Mississippi writer, and I would expand that into our artist community, our culinary artist community, our agricultural community. The culture of Mississippi is so intoxicating that when visitors come here, they're struck by the food, they're struck by the land, they're struck by the art, and our artists are producing things out of their experience. And so we have made our mark on the world, and if we had a time capsule to really encapsulate what Mississippi represents, our artists would overwhelm that capsule with all of the beautiful representations of our state. So I'm always most proud of our culture when I talk about my home state.
I would agree, and I'm looking at Kate because she's like a stay-at-home, and a lot of us with COVID, we've been stay-at-home moms, we've been teachers, we've been psychologists, have cried, I've cried, and we have gardened, and we're doing so much, and our kids are our future. We've heard this forever, and we're feeding into them, and just because they're not in the schools, and some are, we still have to feed into our young minds because they're our future. Tell us, how are you feeding not only their stomachs, but their souls, and feeding into them every day, and just give the viewers some advice on how a day in the life of just taking care of those little ones that's going to take care of us one day. I tell my kids that you're taking care of me later. So tell us about it.
To say it's challenging is an understatement. My children are 2 and 4. So my daughter she was going to a day school before COVID hit, and we decided not to send her back. My darling mother is a retired teacher, and so she is teaching my daughter a couple of times a week. So she is still getting a rich education with my mom. So she's there with her a couple of times a week. But what I find most healing for me personally and my soul, and I think for children as well, is being outside. We get outside as much as possible, as much as the weather permits, and I don't necessarily have a directed play for them ever, because I think it's much more beneficial for children to just free play. So we're outside and they get dirty and we play in the water when weather permits, and nature is the best medicine in my opinion. You know, Daniel Tiger is also wonderful when you need to cook dinner, so I highly recommend that. But that's the best way that I have been able to survive, especially during this pandemic.
Well, thank you. The time is going by so fast, and we have less than 5 minutes, and we're talking about all of these women on this stage. They've been in the trenches. They've seen the work. They've been in the neighborhoods. They've talked to the community. The grocery store. I remember when I was at home, I know the UPS guy. I know the mail lady. I know everybody because we're there and we're talking to them, and we miss that interaction. And so tell us, for those that are in these communities, these essential workers, what are you doing that's on the front line? What can you tell them? What can you motivate? How can you motivate them to keep going? They say during a crisis, it's innovation. So for those that's in the trenches, those that you see day to day, every day, what can you tell them? What would you like to tell them to keep them going and keep them motivated? Because we're in this together. This is one thing that has stopped everyone, no matter your race, your gender, your age, your bank account, your zip code. It stopped us all in our tracks. And for me, it made me grateful just to appreciate the things around you and love on the people that you don't get a chance to see. So those that's in the trenches and making it happen, and you guys, what do you tell them? Just close us out. Tell us, what do we do?
Well, I'll jump in again. Look, we are Mississippians, and this is just what we do. We are no strangers to hard work, to going hard, and to just being resilient. And so for those folks who are on the front lines, when we think about our medical workers, when we think about our teachers, when we think about all of those folks who are stepping away from their families and out of the safety of their homes to continue to give, I want to tell them thank you, but then I also want to say hang in there. You know, there are folks behind you that support you. You may not hear thank you every day, but there are people who appreciate everything that you do. So stay in there, hang in there, keep fighting, keep going hard, because again, as Mississippians, that's what we do. And we encourage one another, and just immerse yourself around people who are going to continue to support you. And so I just say, continue to go hard.
Well, thank you. Well, Carmen, you know me, and so I'll call you out every now and then. So tell us, in the chamber world, not only do we have to take care of ourselves, we have to take care of our families. We're taking care of the business community and trying to help them survive. And so tell us, what are you doing in South Haven? Because we're all struggling, and our businesses are hurting. So tell us, what the chamber is doing in South Haven, and what do you need in South Haven to help them continue to move?
Well, when COVID hit, we just, and the pandemic and lockdown started, we just were on the front lines with a small business to help them reinvent themselves. If that meant that they didn't have a website, we helped them with social media. We were working 18 hours a day, educating them on SBA, on all this new language of PPP and all these things. And Congressman Kelly's office, along with the governor's office, was able to point us to resources that we may not have been able to offer these businesses. So I think us being a resource, a connection, a live person that was willing to find the answers that they needed. So we literally were on the ground with going door to door and just saying, what do you need? What can we help you with? What knowledge do we have that we can give you that will help you to succeed? Because again, we are Mississippians, and there is not one of them that's afraid of hard work. So we just help them.
Well, thank you. So we're closing down. We're to the final minutes, and I think the final minute. And so I'm just going to piggyback on what Carmen said and talk about the local communities and how we need to help them survive, how we should shop local, and every chance you get, pop in and see how they're doing and what they're doing and how can you help. It just takes a little bit at a time, but help out small businesses, our local communities. Those are sacrifices they're making to open their doors every day. So I hope you enjoyed this amazing, amazing panel. I hope you felt the heat from this panel. I am honored to be here, honored to be a part of this, and I look forward to having more panels like this. Thank you, leading ladies. Thank you for being here in Pearl, very close to Jackson, Mississippi. And thank you, Hobnob Mississippi 2020. Hashtag Hobnob 2020, your favorite part of Hobnob 2020, banter at the ballpark.
MEC is the State Chamber of Commerce. We are a private, not-for-profit organization supported solely by our business members. But our goal is to really focus on growing Mississippi from an economic standpoint, from job creation, from opportunities in education, workforce development, and really that's our focus on those broad-based issues that's going to move our state forward.
How has Mississippi businesses been able to adapt during COVID?
Well, you know, it's been amazing. They've found ways to adapt. We started really, the minute this started, we started putting out resources to our members about what you could do to not only get assistance, but again, even set up a back to business safety protocol page, just everything we could do to help them get back up and running. And so many of our essential businesses never shut down. And we were very, very instrumental in making sure that they had the protections necessary through our legislative process of getting liability protections for all of our businesses, and the medical community was really important for us. And so we have found ways to adapt, we found ways to move forward, and I think as a state you're going to continue to see Mississippi, work toward coming out of this and recovering. And MEC is actually focused on the final stage, and that's reimagining how we do things. So in addition to the initial relief that we're very involved in, the recovery process that we're in right now after the restart, I think ultimately we've got to look to the future, and really I think there's some things we can do that's going to move our state even further as we go forward.
Tell us a little bit about MEC, its membership, who is members of MEC, and who should become members of MEC.
Well, I'll just say this. Anybody who has a business should become members of MEC. Our job is to really create a strong business climate, but we have members in all sectors of the economy, whether it's manufacturing, the financial services, the service industry in general. I mean, we have so many different members. Tourism and gaming is a big part of our membership as well. So I think when you think about who we are as an organization, we are very representative of the broad-based business community in Mississippi.
How can people become members of MEC?
It's real simple. Go to mec.ms and it's right there for you.